My name is Aleksandrovich Chulok. I am the director of the Center for Scientific and Technological Forecasting at the Institute for Statistical Research and Economics of Knowledge. We are professionally engaged in forecasts and foresights, and I am grateful to Irina Lvovna for the invitation. I would like to share with you some thoughts about one of the global trends that we are observing related to human enhancement, with the improvement of human beings, with human evolution. Indeed, human capital is now in the focus of attention of both decision-makers and futurists. It seems to me that this is a very important process that we are now supporting and continuing together with you, and the higher the canopy of expectations and responsibility for our actions. First, I would like to show you some of these seemingly funny pictures from the past. It is clear that mankind has been trying to think about the future since time immemorial. This picture is 121 years old. It was prepared in 1900, as we would now call them the best marketing engineers and forecasters of that time. This is a forecast for 100 years. Well, it really reminds me of you and me, if you look at it now. Nevertheless, we do not yet have such neural interfaces that could directly connect the human brain and the computer, although there are quite a lot of serious scientific research on this topic at the same university of the High School of Economics where I work, but I note that this picture is much ahead of, at least, the film The Matrix, which everyone has known perfectly well for several decades. Of course, today they will talk about robotics. I would like to show you a picture like this. Obviously, it's not nanotechnology in the hands of this wonderful engineer anymore, probably more like a soldering iron, some kind of rosin somewhere, but a beautiful lady robot. I don't know if it will look like Elon Musk's Fibbit or not, but nevertheless it is also such a view of the future from the past. And finally, the last thing for the Soviet Union is a particularly sad page in history. Cybernetics was called the science of obscurantism. It is all the more important for us to distinguish global trends, identify them and integrate them into the decision-making system, because once you make the wrong choice, you can end up on the margins of history. We still, as a country, cannot overcome the gap that we had due to this attitude to cybernetics or to the genetics of breeding. Although, of course, very serious breakthroughs have been undertaken in recent years. Well, our present, as a matter of fact, is a well-known series of pictures that happens in a minute. Digital reality. I wanted to draw your attention to what is driving the increasing turnover of the tender, Facebook, Twitter, Google or Netflix. These are digital platforms, ecosystems, new business models, and I would think about how much a person will be integrated into these elements of the future. I have already said that we are professionally engaged in forecasts. We make them for both UNIDO and UNESCO, for a fairly large number of Russian companies abroad, and we often see that mistakes are made with a one-sided attitude towards the future. We identify three types of errors. This is a narrow account of demand in such a truncated context. This perception of the dynamics of technology development is linear, although it is not linear at all and does not even develop along an S-shaped curve, not according to the Gardner curve, and, of course, underestimation of the environment and communication roller. Therefore, I repeat, such events are certainly very important. It is not necessary to simplify the idea of the future, as many people want. Today, in my presentation, I will show you different approaches to working with the future, and I want to start with a science-based approach. These are the results of the application of big data analysis by the IFORA Intelligent Foresight Analytics System. It is mentioned in the journal Nature, and now it contains about 500 million documents. This is a very serious Russian scientific development using semantic analysis and big data analysis. And while preparing for this event, I said, okay, IFORA, show me all the global trends related to humans. This is a semantic cluster. I understand that, despite the large monitors, I hope you are in front of them. Rather, it reads like impressionist paintings, not built by man. This is the result of cluster analysis. The only thesis that I wanted to demonstrate in this picture is that there are not one, not two, not 10 trends related to a person, but dozens of them, and they do not have a hierarchy. These are networks, these are clusters, this is a completely different class of analysis. And I would like to focus your attention on this picture. This has already been processed by our designers. This is the starting point for at least 2020. The key trends that shape both the human environment and the human himself. Let's go through them briefly. Let's start with the hourly hand. Let's start with the trends of the immune response. I would like to note that the occurrence of diseases, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, vaccination, even before the outbreak of the pandemic, our artificial intelligence allowed us to isolate. Of course, these are trends related to aging, which we will actively discuss today. And I can say that the markets for goods for the elderly are estimated at $1 trillion by 2025. This is a very serious amount. If you compare it with the volumes of the commodity economy, then, of course, the difference is noticeable. Of course, we are missing trends related to politics. I hope it will be fine without her today. These are, of course, trends related to smart cities and connectivity. It is very important. And here a number of cities, for example, Moscow, are showing themselves very well in the development of creative industries and support for human creative potential. There are trends related to cybersecurity nearby. This should not be forgotten, and it is all including trends that may be the effects of the development of biometric autism. These are, of course, technologies related to blockchain, distributed ledger. These are digital models, digital doppelgangers. This is a very important area. These are skills. I'll tell you about that a little bit today, too. And trends related to climate change are probably one of the key trends. Well, we end up with biotechnology trends. These are genetics and cell biology. Dear colleagues, as you can see, there are quite a lot of different trends that surround a person. A year ago, I made my forecast for 100 years for RBC. At that time, this figure was not actively discussed in Russian rhetoric. Forecasts with such a horizon are gaining momentum now. I would like to share my thoughts with you. If the previous picture is a completely classic demonstration of the possibilities of scientifically based methods, this is really big data, artificial intelligence. Here it is rather closer to futurology, my personal forecast, but again, based on a fairly large amount of experience and material. Let's run through it briefly. I repeat, in more detail. Here is a link, you can see it. I believe that on the horizon until the year 30, we will see a movement from a person improving human enhancement to a person connected. We understand that people will definitely think about biohacking, and I think that by the 30th year almost every inhabitant of the Earth will have either a wearable device or an implant. This is already quite actively manifested, but as events with a low probability of large-scale effects, jokers or wildcards, as they are called in the theory of classical foresight, one should not forget about the so-called innovative winter. Although many people believe that advances in artificial intelligence and cellular biotechnology in the perception of old age as a disease are great, but there is a reverse trend. This is the so-called winter, that is, simply freezing all breakthroughs, as has been happening with cold fusion for almost a century and, in fact, by the 30th year. If we talk about a connected person, then we should not forget about the threat that there may be hacking at least of the gadgets that this person uses. On the horizon of the 3040s, I hope that the milestone of 120 years will still be broken and the person will live for a long time. But the latest data, which RBC cited just a couple of days ago, shows that our Russian residents are not all ready for such aging. Almost half of them generally believe that they will not live, and moreover, for me it was such an important marker of demonstrating what is happening in our country. It was the fact that almost 60% of respondents, and this data is available on the RBC website, believe that old age begins before the age of 70, up to 69 years old. 1/3 believes that old age begins at the age of 50-59. This is serious, of course. Considering that there are already cities in Japan where people live between the ages of 80-90. Perhaps by the 40s we will have the era of the unemployed person, and the main question will be what to do. Let me remind you that, according to estimates by the World Economic Forum, about 87 million jobs will be lost by 2025. However, 97 million will appear as a result of the development of artificial intelligence, so it is quite possible that this trend may manifest itself. And artificial intelligence can become a kind of joker, which on the horizon of the 40s and 60s can play a cruel joke with a person. This, of course, is all our fears about the independence of artificial intelligence and so on. A number of colleagues in the workshop believe that by the 50th year we will have a technological singularity and immortality. At least, our international colleague Jose Luis Cardera from Singularity University, who recently published the book Death Must Die, is of the opinion that on the horizon of the 50th year a person will achieve immortality. Let's see, I hope everyone will live up to this time in their right mind and clear consciousness. But nevertheless, what's next? Of course, there will be a question about the goals and objectives of the productions. I can say that a number of foreign countries are already seriously thinking about this kind of goal setting of human life. This is quite important, and social depression can act as one of the jokers, which on the horizon of the 60-80s, in the era of a programmable person and an independent person, can actively manifest itself. I think this will be a period of such active intervention in the genetic material. Perhaps society will come to terms with ethics, perhaps ethics related to genetic modification or cloning, and the question of self-identification will arise. That's what the ancient philosophers in Greece were thinking about. A person in these years can already implement. Well, let's see. And finally, these are already very distant prospects. And we remember from the courses on classical foresight that the further the horizon, the methods change towards such more futurological ones. Perhaps man will become primordial. A striking sign of that time was a complete union with nature. On the other hand, bioterrorism and a global pandemic can act as a joker. This is not a virus for you. It could be much more serious. And it is possible that thought and the ability to concentrate, and in general cognitive energy, will become key on this horizon. Well, the last 2120th year is the transition to the omnipresent man. Indeed, it may be a complete combination with a computer, but, again, this is the author's forecast. Somewhere it coincides in rhetoric with what leading futurists predict, somewhere it complements, but nevertheless it seems to me that it is really possible to build on these cards and set the format. But at the same time, I would like to devote the rest of the time that I have to the following. As I said at the very beginning, we make professional forecasts. And for us, futurology is very important and we respect this part of the scientific discipline very much. But I would like to draw your attention, dear colleagues, to the methods. This is what is currently being discussed in the world on professional platforms, in the European Commission, in leading universities abroad, of course, a combination of different methods. We understand that simply using expert methods or other tools, I will tell you a little about them now, it is not possible to identify the future, so it is important to understand the limitations of each of the methods. Well, in our country, expert focus group panels are very often used. Someone calls them foresight sessions, but without professional moderation this is often implemented and it just happens we came, talked, dispersed. This is definitely not a foresight session, and not even a strategic session, but nevertheless, expert knowledge, the so-called uncodified knowledge, is also very important. Remembering about the person, of course, we use methods related to econometrics, macroeconomic modeling, industry models, and we have several departments at the Institute. We have more than 200 people working for full-time. Indeed, one of the world's largest foresight centers. But I can tell you that everyone who has ever done modeling knows that garbage in garbage out is garbage at the entrance, garbage at the exit. We really need to take data and statistics very seriously. And now the United Nations Statistics Division, the highest statistical body in the world, is undergoing a significant revision of those indicators that are used to describe current trends. Of course, in foresight, and in classical foresight, according to recent data, more methods are used. The so-called Kurzweil-style forecast of geniuses is also used, for example, or Isaac Asimov, or Jules Verne. And other methods are related to creativity, but you can't break away from the roots and, of course, you have to be on a scientifically sound basis. As we do. And this is in line with global trends. This is a combination of various methods of using creative, of course, and expert methods, quantitative, and big data, because it is with semantic analysis and serious analytics based on supercomputers that many future forecasts are associated, at least from the point of view of obtaining reliable information of those insights that no analyst has for years. He won't be able to get it. Well, at least the map that I showed you, there are quite a lot of people and it would have to be done for months if it weren't for our I4A system. I hope you are interested in what open access projects exist that were made using exactly such a methodology, classical, scientifically highlighted. I want to make you happy that our country, Russia, is even a trend maker in this sense. We have a forecast of scientific and technological development of the Russian Federation for the period up to the 30th year. It is among the top 5 global forecasts in the field of strategic analytics, on a par with the Chinese roadmap to 2045. Now they have already extended it to the 50th. It is in the public domain. Here is the link. I noticed that one of the areas that is present in it is life sciences, including medicine and biotechnology, where there are also about biointerfaces, or bioelectronic interfaces, and about the genetic passport, genome decoding, and many other technologies. And it is made on the basis of really very serious scientific methods. There was a bibliometric analysis, there was a patent analysis, and more than 2,000 experts, including about 120 members of the Academy of Sciences, participated in it. So please, it is open access, free, you can use it. And it is comparable to many similar national forecasts that were in Japan at one time, and still are in the United States, France, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. And it is quite large scale in terms of results. These are more than 150 different trends, 80 innovative markets, 250 product groups, including those related to humans, of course, and more than 1,000 promising areas of research and development. The President spoke about it in his message to the Federal Assembly. At the beginning of the year, we reported, as RBC called us, for the first 5 years. These are the results that I did not specifically change, as they were in 2014, when the forecast was approved. Here is the first 5-year plan for the 1520s. You can see for yourself here sensors, genetic passports, surgical robots, bioelectronic interfaces, what has already become part of our routine, but this also confirms the feasibility of the forecast. It is estimated to be between 85 and 90%, higher only in Japan. There is a slightly different society there, you also need to understand this. And, of course, if you look further, you can see the next ones, where the 5-year plans are 20-25, 25-30. The forecast is currently being updated. I hope that a new version will also be available soon, and I will be able to talk about it and colleagues available in open sources. And there is another direction where classic foresight was used and which I think is very positive. This is the Moscow Innovation Cluster. It was created several years ago by presidential decree. There are now more than 22,000 participants and about 300 projects have already been supported. And there is a section called Future Technologies, Technologies of the Future, Future Tech, which we did together with colleagues and serious scientists, where there is both medicine and biotechnology. You can just follow this link and see. And I must say that for the development of a person, the development of his creative potential, we recently, together with the Moscow government, released a report on the assessment of Moscow's creative potential. Moscow is at a very good level there, I must say. We are ahead of many other world-leading cities, and, of course, the eco-environment and infrastructure are important. So we can talk for a long time about individual technologies related to increasing life expectancy. But where a person lives, what he eats, which agro-industrial complex serves him, and not only agro-industrial, is fundamental, so I would recommend that you look at this direction. This is quite important. Well, in conclusion, I would like to draw your attention, dear colleagues, that the technological breakthroughs that we will discuss today are important for the future. You will still discuss institutional changes, but no one has cancelled a personal contribution. And I would like to share with you the results of the managers' survey. These are more than 220 companies of leading Russian large and medium-sized companies that took part in the Foresight of the Future of Management Professions that we did together with the Association of Managers. We do this regularly. I have the results of the recent review open on my computer right now. They will be publicly available in just a month at the next forum. But a year ago, we published these results related to the assessment of those skills that top managers consider essential in order to be competitive for the next 5 years. Of course, this is not 100, but we live here and now, we should not forget about this either. I would like to draw your attention to very interesting results, starting from the ability and need to develop a vision and keep this focus, unite people around it, and ending with passing through, of course, and managing cognitive load, higher learning abilities, greetings to neuro interfaces, and a combination of flexibility, the ability to keep focus, all these important soft skills, but the key skill is the ability to see opportunities in a complex, uncertain environment. It seems to me, dear colleagues, dear friends, this is our kind of Russian tray, when all the deadlines passed yesterday, when everything changes very quickly, when the terms of reference mean nothing, but we need to do, the ability to find the right business approach, business model. And this is the ability to see opportunities in an uncertain environment. And, according to most reputable experts, uncertainty is with us now for a long time. Uncertainty about what will be in English is our innate feature. This is a skill and I would make the most of it. It seems to me that it is important, and I strongly urge you to start doing it right now. In conclusion, in order to leave some time for discussion, I wanted to show you this picture. Of course, it is easy to talk about the past, it has already happened. About the future it is a little more difficult, but it is also possible until we find ourselves in it. We will not know exactly what it is. But the most difficult thing is to act here and now. I hope that the talented moderator who is present with you, and the initiative, which was very correctly formed by colleagues, will motivate you to act right now and not delay your future. Thank you very much. I am ready to answer questions if you have any.